Okay, hello. So today we're going to talk about Heidegger, and we're going to explain Heidegger, at least the essence of truth, the beginning of being in time, with Kant. So the first we need to understand is a judgment. So judgment is any statement in the form S is P. So for example, the sky is blue, the grass is green, the chair is red. So these are all judgments, and they have three parts. All judgments have three parts. They have the subject, which is S. They have the predicate, which is P. And they have the copula, which is. So in the example, the sky is blue. I'll just delete these other two for simplicity's sake. So if we use the example, the sky is blue, so we can say the sky is the subject. We can even color that red for subject. We can do all this red. We can say blue. We can make blue blue. And of course we can make the copula. We could do that orange. Let's actually do that purple. So the copula is purple. So this is a very basic type of judgment. So the verb is actually a conjugation of the verb. So it's a conjugation of the verb to be. So other examples of the verb to be are, why is it not working? What did I do? What happened? Okay, I'll just make a new thing, it's fine. Other conjugations of the verb to be are am, as in I am, are, as in you are, and of course is, as in that is. So these are all conjugations of the verb to be. Now, what's important here is that judgments can be, of course, either true or false. So all judgments are true or false, given certain characteristics. So the characteristic of truth and falsehood is called meaning. So we can use the example of the sky is blue. So if I say the sky is blue and I negate that judgment, either the statement that the original judgment is true or the negation is true. So I can write that out here. I'll just use black here. So I'll say the sky is blue, or the sky is not blue. So one of these has to be true. Either the sky is blue or the sky is not blue. Now, if this condition holds, so if this is the case, if the sky is blue or the sky is not blue, then we can say that this judgment is meaningful. So meaningful, or I'll just do meaning, equals truth value, either true or false. Okay, so it's pretty easy in the example, the sky is blue, but let's give an example of a meaningless statement, or a meaningless judgment. We can say, the current king of France is bald. So, is this true or false? Well, let's take the statement, or the judgment. The current king of France is bald. Well, there is no current king of France. So, is he bald? Well, he can't be bald. Okay, so this is false. I could even make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so then we negate it. So we say the current king of France is not bald. is this true? Well, if the current King of France is not bald, the current King of France would have hair. Does the current King of France have hair? Well, no. So this is also false. So what we've seen is that the current King of France is bald is false, but its negation is also false. So we could say this judgment has no meaning. It has no truth value. Now, there's a bit of controversy in this example because there are what's called the 3 laws of logic. And these are the following. Non-contradiction, which means you cannot have both P and not P. Excluded middle. You have to have P or not P. And identity. P is the same as P. P if and only if P. So the problem here is excluded middle, where we found a judgment that is neither true. This just means P is true, and it's neither false. This little squiggly line means false. So it is neither true nor false. It is actually it's true. If it was true, it would be meaningless. If it was false, it would be meaningless. So it actually has no meaning. So it does not obey 3 laws of logic. So the problem here is that truth is reliant on meaning. So a judgment is true only insofar as it is meaningful. Now, that is not to say that all meaningful statements are true, right? If I said the sky is green, that is meaningful because you can negate the sky being green, and that would be true, right? Because the sky is blue. However, to be truthful, a statement must be meaningful. So the question with these judgments is, what determines meaning? When do judgments become meaningful? Now, this is a question that Kant tries to answer. And the answer that Kant gives, we won't go into here, but Heidegger has a very interesting answer to this question. So we can actually just remove, all this. We'll keep it here. We'll just move over. So what Heidegger responds to this, he says, well, let's look at judgments. So if I ask you, what is a hammer? What is the answer to this question? Well, you can answer in one of 2 ways. Well, there's more than 2 ways, but I'll give you 2 ways. There's the Platonic answer, and then there is the Heideggerian answer. The Platonic answer would be something along the lines of, there is a perfect hammer. All hammers are imperfect representations of this perfect hammer. So this doesn't really answer the question, but what it says to us is that there is an essence, there is some fundamental property of hammerness, and all hammers have this property. And it is the goal of the job of philosophers to determine what this essence might be. So in the case of a human being, what is a human being? To Plato, a human being is either a rational animal or a featherless biped with broad nails. Now, the Heideggerian answer is very simple. What is a hammer? A hammer is an entity that exists in order to hammer. So you might say that this doesn't really answer the question, but we've actually turned a noun into a verb. We say, what is a hammer? Well, hammer hammers. So I can use a piece of wood as a hammer. and it becomes a hammer. This is what's known in analytic philosophy as functionalism. So an example of this is if I ask you what is a hammer, you would say a hammer is that which hammers nails. And I can say, what is a nail? What is a nail? A nail is that which exists in order to hold boards of wood together. And then what is a board of wood? That which comprises a wall, for example, and so on and so forth. So what we can see here is that a hammer, right, is understood only in relation to a nail, and a nail is understood only in relation to a board of wood. And so what the Heideggerian answer here is that equipment like hammers have the mode of being of readiness to hand. Readiness to hand just means something that exists in order to do something else. So a TV exists in order to display a movie, a cup of water exists in order to hold water, a phone exists in order to call your friends, and a pencil exists in order to write on a piece of paper. Now, there are other types of entities. This is the first type of entity. This is, let me just delete this, and I'll write this a little bit cleaner. This is, and I'll get rid of the laws of logic. We don't really need this here. So we have the first type of entity. So we'll say type of entity, and then we'll go mode of being. The type of entity is equipment, and its mode of being is readiness to hand. Now, the second type of entity, if we take a hammer and we say, okay, what are the properties of a hammer? Well, you have to break apart what a hammer is. So Aristotle does this very famously, but so does Kant, so does Plato, and so does Descartes. And so they would say something like, Aristotle would say something like a hammer, it has a piece of metal as a head and a wooden handle and blah, 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 blah. And this is the second type of entity, and it views things as objects, and the mode of being is called present at hand. So a good example of this would be a pencil. So I'll just write this out here. So I'll say, what is a pencil? So readiness to hand would be, a pencil is that which exists in order to write on paper. Very simple. But presence at hand would be, a pencil is an object in space that is normally yellow, maybe orange, that has a piece of tin on it, has an eraser, or I could say has rubber on the end, is comprised of wood, is shaved, has graphite, etc. So what we can see here is that I can take the pencil and I can strip it of its meaning, of its function, its very function which exists in order to write on paper, and I can instead explain it as all of its qualities, as yellow and graphite and tin and rubber and blah 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 blah. So I can take the equipment and I can turn that equipment into an object of pure perception. So no longer does it have the mode of being of readiness to hand, that is there ready to be used for a specific purpose, but instead it is an object of pure perception. So philosophy has traditionally understood objects in this way. So remember the quick example I gave before, What is a human being? Well, Plato would say a human being is a rational animal, or he gives two examples, he says, or definitions, or a featherless biped with broad nails. So what we can see here is that he's treating a human being as having the characteristics, the properties of rationality, or of being a featherless biped and having broad nails. So I can delete this now. This was just an example to demonstrate what happened. I have to go select. So what we can see here is that entities either appear as equipment with readiness to hand, so a pencil exists in order to write on a piece of paper, so on and so forth, or they appear as an object which is present at hand, so a featherless biped, an object of pure perception, whatever. So, getting back to the question here, what determines meaning? Well, let me ask you a question. In response to this, let's make this bold. We can make this bold. Perfect. What determines meaning? Let's try to answer this question. Let's say, okay, let me give an example. What are the properties of a hammer? How would I answer this question? Well, the question before to answer this would be, well, what hammer? Hammers can be metal, wood, rubber. Hammers can be big, small, medium. They can be heavy, light, average. They can be yellow, brown, chrome colored. They can have any number of properties. So there's really no answer to this question. What are the properties of a hammer? But if I ask you, what is the function of a hammer? Well, it's very simple. A hammer serves the function of hammering nails. So I can't actually answer the properties of a hammer, but I can tell you the function of it. Why? Because properties are a present at hand observation. Remember, they apply only to properties or objects that are pure perception. But a hammer is something of readiness to hand. It is an equipment. It doesn't have properties. It has functions. It has a purpose. It has things that to be used for. So, likewise, if I ask you, so I'll just delete this one. I'll use another example. If I say, what is the function of the number 4? Well, how would you go about answering this question? Well, the number 4 is not an equipment. It doesn't exist in order to do something else. You could maybe say the number 4 exists to count, but that's true. That's true for all numbers. So you can't actually differentiate the number 4 from the number 5. But if I ask you, what are the properties of the number 4? Well, all of a sudden, you can easily answer that. You can say it is 2 times 2, it is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, it is 8 divided by 2, etc. So, what we can see here is that an object of pure perception, in the mode of being present at hand, can only be explained with having properties, whereas an entity in readiness to hand can only be explained with functions. So, bringing this back to our question of what determines meaning, we can say that if I give you the statement, the the number 4 exists to or exists in order to sweep a room, this is neither true nor false. It is merely meaningless. Because I'm asking you in an order to of an object of pure perception, of an object that is present at hand. I am treating the number 4 as an equipment when it's really just an object. And likewise, if I asked you, if I say for example, a hammer has the property of being small, or to say of being property of having the color red, this is also either true or false, because hammers don't have specific properties. They exist in order to hit nails. So, meaning is ultimately determined by the mode of being. So if I say the number 4, what are the properties of the number 4? The number 4 has the property of 2 times 2. That is both true and meaningful. Like I said, the number 4 has the property of being 3 times 5. That's false, but still meaningful. And likewise, if I say a hammer has the property, or a hammer exists in order to sweep a room, that's false, but still meaningful. And likewise, if I say a hammer exists in order to hit nails, that's both meaningful and true. So what determines meaning is, the answer to this question is the mode of being. Questions must, or I should say judgments, must treat their objects, or I should say their subjects, as the correct mode of being. In other words, the predicate must be in the same mode of being as the object. So, being used to hammer is the predicate, and the mode of being of right is the hand, and it is meaningful only in relation to entities that exist ready to hand. And likewise, being divisible by 2 is a property of objects at present at hand, and therefore is meaningful only for objects at present at hand. Now the next logical question is, what determines these things? And this is a question that Heidegger seeks to answer, which I will answer in a second. Okay, so given that meaning is determined by the mode of being, and that judgments must treat their subjects in the correct mode of being, and that predicates must match their subject's mode of being, the question that now arises, we can remove all this. The question that now arises is, what determines the modes of being of an entity? So in other words, why is a hammer ready to hand, while a number present at hand? Now the answer that Heidegger gives is called comportments. Now what is a comportment? So we can rewrite our chart, and we'll even color code it here. So we will go, we'll do underline. So we'll go entity, then we'll go, you know, I don't want that line there, hold on. Then we'll go mode of being, and then we'll go comportment. This should work perfect. So we'll go, the first entity will be equipment, which exists in the mode of being ready ready to hand. And the comportment is called circumspective concern. Don't worry, I'll explain what that means in a second. And then we'll go object, mode of being of present at hand, in the comportment of pure perception. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, human beings, which Heidegger refers to as Dasein, which means in translation it translates as their being. For the purposes of this lecture, we won't go into exactly the intricacies of Dasein, but just think of Dasein as human beings. So human beings, or Dasein, experience entities in these ways, as either present at hand or right at hand. And so the comportment is the way in which you view an entity. So you comport yourself, or you change yourself, you view the world in circumspective concern, and then entities appear to you as right at hand. Or you view the world in pure perception, and then you see the world as present at hand. So an example of this is Aristotle. He views hammers as substance and property. So a hammer is a certain substance and has the property of maybe being metallic or being wooden, having a certain shape, having a certain number, having a certain relation to you, so on and so forth. So Aristotle would see a hammer in the comportment of pure perception. And when he comports the world to pure perception, he sees objects as present at hand. Whereas Heidegger sees a hammer as an in order to, which means that entities appear as ready to hand equipment because he comports the world in circumspective concern. So we can do, this is red, this one is green. Okay, so the answer then, what determines the mode of being of an entity? The answer is we do. So can I move this? I can't. Oh, let me just move this over. So the answer to this question is that we do. We determine the mode of being of an entity through our comportment. So I can say by comporting entities through either circumspective concern or pure perception, they appear and their distinctive modes of being. So, the question that Heidegger then asks is, what is the essence of truth? This is the most important question that he asks in the essay, named, What is the essence of truth? And so the answer is, the essence of truth is truth. I don't know what that noise was. Truth is reliant on meaning. Meaning is reliant on comportment. Or I should say is reliant on mode of being. Mode of being is reliant on comportment. So, whatever allows comportment is the essence of truth. Whatever allows Dasein, or human beings, to see the world in either pure perception, or circumspective concern, then allows the respective mode of being of those entities to occur, which then allows the meaning of judgments to be understood, which then allows truth to come about. I'll give an example to explain all this at the end, but the essence of truth is whatever allows the comportment of entities, and that is us. So, Dasein, oh my god, it's so loud. Dasein as a free entity allows entities to be. Being, or Dasein, frees entities to be. Freedom equals letting beings be. So, you as Dasein have the capacity of comporting entities into either present at hand or ready at hand. Of comporting yourself in circumspective concern or pure perception, which then comports entities into either ready at hand or present at hand, respectively, therefore allowing meaning to be conferred, which itself allows truth. So, the essence of truth, what it means for a judgment to be true or false, is ultimately reliant on you, on your freedom that allows entities to be. So, just to give an example, I'll get rid of all of this. Oh, what happened? Just get rid of all of this. So, what is the essence of truth? Well, if I say the hammer exists in order to hammer, this is true because the predicate matches the mode of being of the subject. So that means that this is the subject, and this is the predicate. So the predicate and the subject are the same mode of being. So it's true because the predicate matches the mode of being of the subject, which is equal to meaning. Meaning is determined by mode of being. Mode of being is determined by comportment. And comportment is made possible by freedom. So, you, as a free entity, allow entities to arise. These entities arise because of a specific comportment of your being. Those entities have a specific mode of being. Those modes of being confer meaning to judgments about those entities. And when those judgments are correct, they are true. So truth, the essence of truth, is the capacity, Dasein, to let beings be, which allows entities to have meaning, which itself allows entities to be true or false. So thank you all for watching. I hope this makes sense. This was a very short, well, relatively short for a Heidegger lecture. For a Heidegger lecture, I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for listening, and see you all next time.